What's going on, everybody? We've got a lot of good work done on the 280Z lately, so let's keep the momentum going. Today we're going to work on this section here at the front of the rocker panel. Hey, it's Brian with Block Garage. We're back working on the 280Z today. We've done a bunch of good stuff lately. Last couple of videos we got the rear quarter panel done, back here behind the rear tire. We got the rear of the passenger rocker panel done. We've got the floors and the frame rails all done. We got this up here underneath the battery tray done. The firewall's done. A couple other little things are done, so let's keep going. I mean, comparatively, we don't have that much rust left to do, which is really exciting. But today, like I mentioned, we're gonna start this section here at the front of the rocker panel. As you can see, you know, it's technically solid, but it's not in very good shape. And I got a broken bolt off right there. This is where the fender comes down right here, sits on top right here, and bolts right here underneath. So this is one of my fender mounting bolts. I probably could drill that out, but I'm not going to because we're going to cut it out. And as you can see, the bottom of my pinch weld is all messed up from people jacking on it. So we'll get that fixed too at the same time. Over here, I got the fender out. It's been sitting in the barn for a while, and I wanted to get it out so we could use it for reference. The bottom down here is not too bad. There's a little bit of rust here. Other than that, it's all in good shape. You can see some rust back here, but that stuff we can clean up. Overall, that fender's in good shape, so that's exciting. Won't have to do much to that. I don't even think I'm gonna need to buy a replacement panel for that, because you can buy that lower section that goes right about here. I don't think I need to bother. So let's get started. We're gonna get this cut out, probably down here. Honestly, I don't even know if this up here needs to be done. I'll see how solid it is. Down here, you know, you can see we got holes right there through it. So at least I'm going to cut out this bottom section down here and do something with the pinch weld here, whether I just flatten it out and use as is or cut it out and replace. Not sure yet. We'll find out once we get in there. So let's get started. So what I'm gonna do first is cut this bottom section out. I'm gonna cut right along this body line right here where this part folds over to the part underneath, and we'll go from there. Before I actually cut this fully apart, I put some lines on here where my bolt holes line up to make it easier to get the new ones lined up in the right spot. You know, if we get those off, it'd be harder to line up the fender. So there's a tip for you. So doing a quick sanding like that with my sanding disc or something like that, some sandpaper, you know, anything that you could sand that down with, helps reveal where the spot welds are. So you can see we got one right there, right there, right there, right there, and right there, and there might be one right where we cut right there, hard to tell. So finding where those are makes it a lot easier to get those spot welds cut to get it off. Now what I've found to work well when cutting spot welds is to pre-drill a little hole with a tiny drill bit, because we're gonna use it to fit this pin in from the spot weld cutter to keep it from walking. So what I'll do is I'll drill a little hole in each one, don't have to go all the way through, and we'll swap over to our spot weld cutter. What you want to watch for when you're cutting with this is when you get through the first layer, you'll see a puff of rust come through on rusty panels like this. New stuff, you probably wouldn't see it. But you can notice when you're through the first layer and starting into the second layer easily, because you'll see that rust. And if you don't cut too much, you'll actually see the slightly rusty panel, you know, in between through your cut. And it comes right off. It's definitely satisfying when they come off that easily. Well, I think we lucked out. Check this out. Looking up in there, that looks nice. I don't see any reason we need to cut any more out. Even feeling behind here, the back of this, it feels solid enough that I'm not gonna worry about it. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna make that piece we just cut out there. I probably will cut out a little more back here, just so I can make that pinch weld solid right there. Again, that's from people jacking up on the car right there over the years. But I'm happy with that. If this was an exterior piece that you could see, I probably would cut this section out right here. But as of right now, unless I change my mind, we're just gonna replace this piece here, this little bit right here on the pinch weld, and we'll be done. And, you know, after what we found when we popped this rear rocker panel off to replace that, I'm very surprised that there's not more rot in here. You know, we had to replace 4 separate layers there in behind that outer layer just to get that fixed properly. But in here where it's clean, we had no surprises. Alright, now that we got this all shaped, fitting nice, it's time to weld it up on the 90-degree corner. Now this is going to warp from the heat of the welding, so I've got it clamped down to this angle line to try to keep this piece as flat as possible. Since this piece is so small, if we get any warp, which we should be able to bend it back. It actually fits very nicely. I had to do just a tiny bit of tweaking to get it to fit as good as it is after finishing up those welds, but really nothing at all. So now what I want to do is I want to grind these welds down a little bit. They don't have to be perfect because it's going to be behind the fender, and that's rounded anyway from the factory. You know, this is one piece like this, right? So there's a bit of a rounded edge there. So I'm going to grind that down some just to make it look decent. Is it perfect? No, but it'll work. You know what? I wasn't gonna do this, but I think I'm gonna put some welds on the backside, just because you can see you got some cracks there where water technically could get in there and rust over the years, but also it'll give this a little bit more strength since I grind off most of the weld on this side. And since this is where the bottom of the fender mounts, the only thing that mounts the bottom of the fender, I want it to be solid. So yeah, I'm gonna go weld this, grind it back down, and we'll move on. All right, got that all welded up, ready to put it in. What I think I'm gonna do to make sure that I get my bolt holes lined up exactly perfectly where they need to be, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tack this in place temporarily. We'll throw the fender on, use that to mark my holes, pull it back apart, and get it ready for final assembly. So now we gotta put our riv nuts in. I got this rivnut tool from Amazon and picked up a big pack of rivnuts. Those bolts are M8 by 125, so that's this size right here. We got our M8 threaded adapter to go on the rivnut tool. I know I could have just welded regular nuts onto the back side, but I didn't have any. Plus, I wanted to try using the riv nuts anyway. It's as easy as that. Both holes line up perfect. Let's get that fully welded in. Well, I got that tacked in place right. Then I checked to see just how thin this was up here, and it's incredibly thin. So since that would be so easy to fix anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and cut out probably just gonna cut out right here where it's the worst. This over here seems solid. This here was quite pitted, so let's just cut this quick section out right here. We'll put a new one in and be done. Don't have to worry about it. I was just noticing something. It looks like right here, somebody really jacked up hard on the car, because if you run at a straight edge down the rocker panel here, right here, this goes up. Enough that I can see a noticeable gap when I run that straight edge down. So I think what I'm going to do, I was already planning on replacing this damaged bit of the pinch weld right here, is I'll trim that off, get that piece off, bring that back down, and weld it where it's supposed to be when I replace this piece. I forgot to hit record, but I got this pounded back out close to where it needs to be. You can actually access it from inside here, the holes that are on the inner rocker, and just tap it out that way. I've got it almost perfect, but before I get it perfect, I want to get this made down here, so when it's ready I can just tack this to there and it won't move. So let's do that. Something just occurred to me while I was looking around waiting for that primer to dry over there. I think this fender might have been replaced. If you look where the fender bolts right here, it's all wavy. There's actually a little piece of the fender left where it looks like it got tacked on at some point. But over here on my fender, it's nice, perfect, straight. Definitely never had any damage done to it. So I'm assuming many years ago, probably had a small accident that ruined this fender here, wrinkled that here on the car, and they replaced it. Alright, well, I've been messing around with this for quite a while. I got it to where I'm happy with it. I've actually, had the fender on and off a bunch of times. I threw the other fender on the other side, so I had something to compare to. And I'm good with where it is. So we're going to get this tacked in place with the fender still on, so I know it doesn't move. And then we'll pull the fender off, and finally time to fully weld everything. So I didn't use any air on this to cool those, mostly because I'm not real worried if there's a little bit of warpage here. Also because I wanted to just try it and see how much of a difference it would make. And this panel is hot, 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 obviously because I've been welding on it. If I had been using air to cool those down, I could easily just lay my hand on them now. So that air does make a huge difference as far as getting heat in the whole panel. I just found something that seems to work very well. Getting in these inside bends here, where we need to grind our weld down, I couldn't previously think of a good way to get in there. Get in there with my grinding disc and grind the majority of the weld off, just like we do on these flat surfaces. And then maybe take the sanding disc and get in there as good as I could. Sometimes I'd use that little mini belt sander thing to get in there because it's rounded on the end. But I was just looking through the toolbox and I noticed I have some of these still. These are those red cleanup discs, and they're a bit more flexible, and you can sand with the edge with them. I just tried it right here, because this I need to get nice and smooth because my fender's gonna fit tight against there. So I can't have it sticking, or I can't have too much material there because it won't sit flush. And it actually works very well. So if you can see, down here I have not done, up here I have, and it's much smoother up here. I was able to take the high spots off and smooth it out good. So I'm gonna keep trying this, and I think it'll work good. I'll probably use it down here and over here where I've already ground down. I think that'll help a lot. So if you can see, if it's showing up good on camera, I can get that nice and smooth and rounded off now. The good thing about this is, and the reason why I believe it's working so well, is because it's not very aggressive. You know, it's not like a grinding disc or a cutoff disc or whatever that's gonna cut right through the material. So you got a little bit of forgiveness there, but it will take material off. You know, it's not foolproof. You could cut right through this if you wanted, but since it's flexible, the edge rounds off, and it's not super aggressive, it works really good in those areas like that. So I'm gonna keep using this, and I'll let you guys know how it turned out in the end. All right, yeah, that works amazing. Much better product once I get done with that. I got the edge nice and rounded off. I'm gonna continue using that. I'd suggest you guys, if you got any similar situations like that where you gotta grind the welds down, pick up some of them if you don't have them. You know, I wouldn't start with that. Definitely want to grind the majority of that off with your cutoff disc. But finish it off with those little roll lock cleanup discs. Works very well. Well, would you look at that? We got it all done. It actually came out very well. It's tough to get in these areas here. I'll give you a couple tips that I found. One, when you really got to get in a corner like that, like right in here, the only thing I could find is a burr bit. And then, you know, you got to be careful though, because it's very easy for it to, you know, grab and shoot over to the side, and since it's thin sheet metal, it'll go right through it. I actually had to repair this a little bit down here with some weld because I did just that. Other than that, using those little roll-out cleanup pads works very well. Another thing that I found actually is to take your 2-inch cutoff discs and trim them to fit your backing pad, because if you don't cut them, they come larger than your backing pad, and you get flex on the edge. If you need to get any tight areas though, if you take that and just trim that to the edge of your backing pad, it helps a lot, you know, because you don't have that super flex on the outside. You still got some flex from the rubber backing pad, but you can get in areas like this and be more precise when you are actually grinding down, because you don't have a whole bunch of flex going all out around there. You can concentrate right where you need to be. Works very well. Now that we got that done, let's see how the fender fits. It is right on. So, it's more big progress with this. Got all this rust done up here. We're actually completely done on this side of the car. Yeah, we're completely done on the passenger side of the car. With rust anyway. Obviously there's plenty of work left to do. Well, there we go. Another successful project all done. Again, very happy with how this turned out, especially going into this without really a plan on how I was going to do it. 100% custom repair. There's no patch panels here, nothing, no pre-bought stuff. It wasn't exactly the hardest repair to do, but it's good to make stuff yourself. Obviously, it's a lot faster if you use the repair panels, but there's still some satisfaction in doing that repair yourself 100%, showing off your work and your skills and all that stuff. It just feels good. And we get to bust out the rivnut tool and use that. I know we'll be using that a lot more coming up as we start mounting stuff for the 2JZ swap and all that stuff. But yeah, probably end it off here. Not 100% sure what I'm gonna do in the next video yet. I know we got all the rust to do on the other side still. We just did it on this side, so I don't know if maybe I should do something different and then go do that side later, or if I should just go do that side now since it's fresh in my head and probably get it done quicker. I don't know, I'll think about it. But thanks everybody for watching. Leave some comments, you know, let me know what you think. Let me know what you're working on for a project. You know, I like hearing about other people's projects too. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video.